Welcome, everyone. This is our October call for Women IT Pros, and we're going to be talking today with Heather Poulsen about crafting your personal brand tips for techies. So very excited for this call. And in the chat window, part of this is networking, so we're thrilled that you can join us live here. Please tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do. You do not have to be a woman or an IT pro to be here. We welcome everyone, and especially because this is about social media, let us know where to find you. If you're on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, for public things, do let us know, and in general, where you live. And then another really important thing is get to the virtual events. Everything is virtual now. There's a lot of stuff that's out there. So please, if you're going to go to something, put it in the chat window. I am going to the Women in SharePoint happy hour on Tuesday, and really encourage all of you to join me there. They're tweeting it. I'll retweet it. And if you don't know of something that you're going to, find something. This is going to be our last meeting for the year for the US series, but there are other Women IT Pros events happening. There are other technical events happening. Find something, get your group together. And my slide will advance eventually. There we go. We do encourage you to participate, especially depending on the size of the group. We may say, hey, come off mute and speak up, or we may just keep things to the chat window. We'll kind of see how the flow goes here. And then we also have a Women IT Pros group on LinkedIn, and I will put that link in the chat window after Heather starts presenting here. So definitely encourage you to join us there. Upcoming calls. The Asia Pacific group out of Australia with Sonia Cuff and Jess Dodson is going to do an Ignite wrap-up on October 29th. It's noon in, I forget which Australia time zone that is. It's not Brisbane anymore, Sydney time. And it's going to be 6 o'clock with us because of how the time zones work. But actually, I should say it's 6 o'clock on Wednesday, October 28th, not October 29th. And then EU is going to move to a podcast format. So watch for announcements for that. They'll announce it in Twitter, hashtag WomenITPros. Then, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to take a holiday because November and December end up putting us right in the middle of US Thanksgiving and then Christmas. So we'll be going to second Fridays in 2021. And January 8th, Claire Wasserman from Ladies Get Paid. We've had some talk here about, well, how do you know how much you should be asking for? And how do you do all that salary discussion? And also a lot of really good financial stuff from her group. I've been to their virtual conference. It was wonderful. So join us for that on the 8th. February 12th, Melody Beringer from Wit Regatta is going to come and do what she calls her Connection Cafe. So we're going to do some breakout rooms. March, we have Jo Burkholder. She is a diversity consultant. And then April 9th, Heather Newman about Women in Power Platform. So definitely encourage you to find us. Later on, I'll throw a link in the chat window on how to get us in Eventbrite to see all of our events coming up. And we always encourage you to find Detectable Tribe. I've got Rachel here. She's part of my tribe that I met at Ignite in 2019. It's just so nice having those people that I know are a couple thumbs away here. And I will put that link in that window as well for Join Community Mentors. We will have a survey at the end. I'll put that link in the chat window. We do appreciate getting your feedback on this. And then just a disclaimer before we switch over to Heather here, we're an open source grassroots thing. I work at Microsoft, but I don't speak on behalf of Microsoft. Heather is an individual who's here sharing her experience and what she knows from her both personal and professional experience. So this is not an official Microsoft thing, but we do have a lot of Microsoft people who attend, as well as a lot of people from outside of Microsoft. So Heather is someone who I met, I guess it was moving into the MVP Summit a couple of years ago. And we have worked together on a lot of events like Microsoft Ignite for the last several years here. She has a fabulous amount of experience. She is behind a lot of the social media that you see coming out of our IT pro space at Microsoft. And just someone who I started thinking, gee, I really want to have a call about social media and who should I get? And I realized, wait, Heather is right there. And I asked her and she said, well, that's outside of my comfort zone. But she did it anyway. And so I want all of you to step outside of your comfort zone. There's not much left to 2020. Find something there, find something in 2021, because that's where all the growth and that's where all the excitement and good stuff is going to happen. So I think we all owe Heather some applause here. You can give her virtual applause, real applause for saying, yes, I am going to do this. And really, you know, to think of it, what I told her is, this is just a conversation that we said many months ago, hey, we should just sit down sometime and talk about social media. And so we're just sitting down today to talk about social media. It just happens that I've invited everybody else to kind of come and sit down with us while Heather tells us all about social media. So Heather, take it away.
All right. Just want to say, first of all, thanks to everyone for taking the time to join this today. I know it might be your lunchtime or an evening or morning time, depending on where you are in the world. So just appreciate you taking the time to listen to what I have to offer today. And hopefully it starts a two-way conversation that we can continue after today's meetup. So I'm going to kind of go through general things about social media today. Some people, may have tentatively put their toes in the water, but they're just lurking. Maybe you don't post. I don't know everyone's experience. So if some of this is more of the basics for you, we'll get to some deeper stuff. And I would love to encourage, like Kathy said, some two-way conversation. Feel free to share your own tips. I know a lot of you, Harjeet in particular, is very active across the social media space. So I look forward to, sharing your tips out loud or in the chat, whatever you feel comfortable with. So just a quick introduction of myself. I have owned a digital marketing company now for 20 years. And while I am not an IT professional, I love IT professionals. That is kind of where my sweet spot is. I love kind of translating between engineers and regular people and really just helping people understand technology more clearly and more broadly. So I've done a lot of work with being the behind the scenes person for companies like Microsoft or maybe Dell, some others. So I'm not usually in the spotlight. So that's why I'm a little bit nervous today, but I do have hopefully some insights that you'll find valuable to creating your brand in tech. So just a quick introduction. People are like, what does social media mean? What are we talking about? So I just kind of wanted, especially in 2020, with everybody being stuck at home, like before social media, maybe you'd go in the office and be like, hey, I'm doing a speech on Friday, and then they would tell a couple people. So social media is just a way to share that and participate in conversations quickly, virtually, broadly. Your reach is infinite with social media versus just telling your friend and maybe the people they know. In terms of channels, there's a lot of channels to choose from, but in the tech world, there's probably some that are more favored than others. I put some stats up here just so you can see the size of these universes. Twitter, for example, 330 million active users a month. And that's not one of the biggest. That might be the biggest where I'm active and some of you are active, but it's certainly not the most active users. Facebook is still the largest social media site in the world with 2.6 billion active users every month. LinkedIn, obviously, for professionals, they don't talk about active users because people don't tend to engage in LinkedIn several times a day like they do on other platforms. So they talk about members, but they have over 690 million of them. And then there's also places like Reddit or other types of aggregate super forums. There used to be Dig and other ones that have kind of gone by the wayside. Those tend to trend up and trend down as conversations shift. And then obviously for video, YouTube is the largest video sharing platform in the world. So whether you're on some of these, none of these, all of these, the thing to think about is whether you're an aspiring or established person in tech, where do you want to build your community? I tend to personally promote Twitter as a great place to start, primarily because you can sign up in 60 seconds. And if you're not ready to talk, you don't have to. You can just get on there, you can engage, you can maybe start liking, you can maybe post a comment like that's really cool, and you can kind of ramp up what you want your presence to be. LinkedIn, obviously, for your career history and your professional development is a great place to have a presence. I personally am guilty of not ever keeping my LinkedIn page quite up to date, but it's definitely a place where people go to have more solely professional discussions. Not a lot of people sharing pictures of their kids on LinkedIn. Facebook, while it was kind of, the original big social media site, a lot of people have kind of called it old or archaic, or that's where my mom is or my grandma is at this point. It has so many active users, though. There are still tons of professional groups and meetups on Facebook, so it's definitely some place to consider. Reddit. So Reddit is like the wild, wild west of social media as far as I'm concerned. So many anonymous accounts. There's not as much accountability as, say, on Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. But obviously, it's a place to discuss all of the things. There's subreddits. You can find groups that you might identify and want to talk with more people about. And it can also be a great place to kind of test your social media sea legs as you learn to, oh boy, there are a lot of people posting negative things. I want to stay away from conversations about that. It's a kind of a good way to watch without fully engaging. And of course, there's other places like Instagram or Tumblr or Twitch, but those are very specific, gaming, photos, and that kind of thing. So I'm not going to probably go into those much today. So why should you even be on here in the first place? I get this question a lot. I've been doing a lot of these Ask Microsoft Anything sessions or other similar AMAs with other communities, and a lot of the engineers or devs will be like, I don't really do social media. Like, why should I? And I always say, because everyone should. Everyone is unique. Everyone has a story to tell. Everyone has an experience to share that could help someone else. And that's what makes you interesting and why I think you should be on social media. The other reason is also kind of very tactical, and that's you want to advance your career, and it gives you something to point to. It gives you a place to showcase what you do, what you're building, what you're learning. It allows you to gather feedback and show your management and your leadership team that, hey, look what I'm doing. It's visible. People are responding to it. You don't have to just work in the shadows from your keyboard and your monitor. And then it gives you something down the road as you look for new career possibilities for people to check and be like, oh, wow, look how active they are. They're really a voice or representative for this product or this area. And as I also like to say, like it's just, you can add value even if you just want to post a picture of a funny dog and make someone's day. Like, especially now during COVID and pandemics, like it's nice to have smiles. It's nice to have new insights. It's nice to have a conversation with people. So if you're ready to either engage in social media or build your existing brand, there's some things that you probably want to think about. And first thing is, depending on what place you're going to pick to go, do you want that presence to be purely professional? Do you want it to be just where you go for personal? Do you want it to just be a mix of the two? And then once you decide that, kind of always consider privacy concerns. Do you want to share information about where you work, where you live, places you go and like? Do you want to mention your family? Do you want to talk about your friends, even anonymously? Just kind of things to always keep in mind, because the internet is the internet. And once it's out there, it's out there. There are even if you tweet something and take it right down, there's a public archive and somebody captured it somewhere. And then the other thing to consider is what extent of your point of view do you want to share? Do you want to just share like what is? Like, there's an event, there's a Women's IT Pros meetup on Friday. Do you want to share what you know? Like, hey, I'm doing this thing and building this thing. Do you want to share what you think, kind of opinions about things? Do you want to share like just general feelings, like personal feelings, emotional feelings, philosophical feelings? And then do you want to share things you're wondering about to really engage in that two-way conversation? So you might, if you're building something for your business, these are fairly easy. Like if you're building a Twitter handle or a Facebook page for your business, it's just going to be professional. It's going to be, this is what we do, this is what we can offer, what we know, and what's coming. But when it's personal, you might tailor your approach depending on where you're at. So personally, what I do is LinkedIn for me, purely professional. That's kind of like my constant online resume and where I go to just make sure that people could find out what they needed to find out if they wanted to hire me for a job. For me personally, Facebook is personal. That's where I share photos of my kids and silly stories with my friends and recipes for 3-minute mud pies or whatever, just fun stuff. So I try to keep work out of Facebook. And then for Twitter, for me, is a bit of a mix. That's kind of where I've chosen to build my largest community. So it's where I'm going to engage most frequently, where I'm going to check, where I'm going to input most frequently. And it's also where I go to learn. And so I want to build a diverse group that's not just talking about technology as I know it. I want to, hashtag women who code. I want to learn about diversity and inclusion. I want to learn about a broad amount of things. And so that's how I've kind of set up my socials. But you want to do what works best for you. If you're going to create, say you have a personal Twitter handle today, and you want to create a professional one, maybe consider creating an entirely new one, and pick a handle that you can kind of take with you as you move on. You might not want to pick it, Creatrix Heather. Well, what if I leave Creatrix and that's my handle forever? So, think about those things when you create those usernames and those profiles. Also, decide if you are creating one that does include your company name, which you're still welcome to do, obviously. Do you want to be the company's megaphone? Does the company want you to be their megaphone? Even putting a disclaimer as simple as, thoughts and views are my own. That doesn't actually have legal ground. So before you do those kinds of things, get to know your company's social media policies. Disclaimers don't absolve you, but you probably know what you should and shouldn't say when it comes to blogging about or talking about your company. And then just to remember, it is social media, so your audience is everyone. And because of that, you choose what you share and you choose who can see it. So if you want to mix personal and professional, go for it. There are no give backs, so just know that once it's out there, it's out there. Again, you can share as many views as you like, but you can also alienate people. You can also rile people. So just be prepared for the conversations when you post something, and get to know the knobs of the privacy controls in all of the various platforms. They all have their own. You can generally fine-tune things. If you really do want to grow your professional network, you'll probably want to turn those knobs to everyone, and then just don't be afraid to use the more granular controls of blocking and unfollowing, muting, whatever the platform offers. Use them broadly. Make your experience what you want it to be in order for it to feel healthy, to feel safe, and to feel like productive for your life. If you are on social,
had her hand up. I'm not sure if you still had a question.
Oh yeah, sorry, I can't see those. Thanks, Kathy.
Yep.
No, sorry.
What was that?
I just had it up by mistake. Sorry.
Oh, okay, no problem.
No worries. Okay, so one of the things that I notice, even from people that have been on social media a long time, is profiles. Your profile is important. It's a good example actually is tech community. When you first join, it kind of just says like, I'm a member of the tech community. It just gives you a default profile. And if you don't take the extra time to write something, you probably forget, and that's what it is. So every time someone goes to look you up, there's like, I'm a member of the tech community, or I'm a member of Reddit. It's worth taking 1 minute, 2 minutes, probably 5 minutes to tell people, like tell them who you are, tell them what you're interested in, why they should follow you, why they should engage with you, and also what you are likely to talk about and share. And that way they know if you're someone they're going to want to follow and kind of keep tabs on in their universe. Use keywords, terms, industry terms that people will understand easily. On things like Twitter, you can also use emojis because you're limited in space on what your profile can say. So make sure that the things you're listing are things that you're really, passionate or want to engage in more conversations and learn about. And then if you're joining a new platform or changing your strategy, or like I haven't posted anything in 5 years and now I'm posting again, like make a post about that. Like tell people like, I'm back, I want to talk about this, or this is why I'm joining Twitter, or I'm starting a Facebook group or profile so that I can, have engage in conversations and learn more about X. And just keep in mind too that you can be free to be you. Discrimination laws prevent companies from terminating you on the basis of race, religion, and other characteristics, and that applies to tweets and social media. Obviously, if you disclose, undisclosed information, then that can be, grounds for action by your employers. But in terms of yourself, you are free to be you. All right. And this is more of still like the why you should join, because your ideas have value. Oops, I want to go back. I don't know how to do that in here. Hold on. Start over from there. Thanks for bearing with me. If someone knows how to go back on that in reading view and PowerPoint, feel free to post it for me. And I feel like this slide that I'm trying to get to is actually really important because a lot of people will join social media and then they don't post anything. And the reason they don't post is because they don't feel like they have something to say. They don't feel like what they have to say is unique enough. Maybe it's they're not the smartest person in the room. Well, no one's the smartest person in the room. Let's be honest. Like imposter syndrome is a thing and it's real and that's okay. And I just read some recent study and I think they said like 70% of people will experience that at some point in their lives. And I kind of feel like in tech, that is a much higher level. You're always finding out what you don't know. And every time you learn something new, it just opens up this door to 100 other things you don't know. And so, sharing things that you're learning as you learn them and your feelings about that, your feelings about what you don't know, that will actually help build you a more meaningful community on social media. It brings commonality to the experience. Like we're all people, right? We're all human beings on these platforms. And so it can be really powerful to talk about your insecurities as well as your achievements and not just continue to announce, I built this, I invented this. You can also say like, man, I had to look up the simplest piece of code the other day and I have to look that piece of code up every time I use it. That is a common theme. And if you search on imposter syndrome on any platform, LinkedIn or Twitter or any of them, you will find 100,000 conversations about it. So you're not alone. Everyone feels that way. Share anyway. Share your uniqueness. So like tactically, like what should you post? Well, that's kind of up to you. If you're building something, if you learned something, that's great. You should share that. People will be interested. If your teams or other people are building cool things and you want other people to see that, also a great thing to post. It's also a great way to ask for information. Like, hey, I don't know anything about JavaScript. Like, where should I start? And you'll get a whole list of people giving you, tutorials, YouTube videos. You'll get offers. A lot of times people can offer to mentor you. You can also just share how you feel. Like, man, I saw, it was rainy outside today and there's elections coming up and I feel, that's fine to share too. Like, just be yourself, and being authentic is what will build you followers. It will also build you a community of people who also care about being real. If everything you post is always like, this is great, everything I'm doing is great, my life is great, you will build a feed of people who are also kind of shiny and not super deep, and that might not make you feel great. So I suggest building a more authentic community filled with real human beings that feel and do real human things. I would also say that it's good to remember that because the audience is global, like don't forget about accessibility. So this is really something simple, but when you're posting, if you post a picture or GIF or anything, there's usually alt text options in almost every social platform. And just please take 20 seconds to fill those out, because a lot of people use screen readers. Some of the images, even this one, my slide deck, I know isn't the most accessible in terms of people who may be colorblind. So just take that moment to make what you're posting accessible for everyone. And I saw somebody else had a question. Did I see that for a second?
I don't see any raised hands, but
okay. I thought I saw something pop up, but that's cool.
Anyone?
All right.
It's okay, Heather. I'm helping you out in chat.
Oh, thank you.
I'm busy.
This is great. So people also say, oh, how often do I have to post? I don't want to take a lot of time. And that's actually one of the ways that I wanted to position today's talk is you don't have to be on your phone checking this all throughout the day. You don't have to check it every day. In fact, there are lots of times where I take an entire week off of social media and I manage it for other people and I might go do the bare minimum I have to, but for personally, I'm just like, I need a break. Algorithms are ever changing. Every platform is constantly fine tuning how it surfaces and what it surfaces. As you build friends, you'll obviously see more of the things your friends post and they'll see more of what you post. So I would just say, start with posting like once a week, and that will kind of, anyone that is following you or connected to you will start to see your stuff appear in their feed. And that kind of builds a cadence. The more regular you do that, the more that cadence will build. And it's because as people start to see your stuff, then they like it or they comment or they share. And the more that happens, the more you appear. So also, if you're talking about something that's a trending topic, LinkedIn and Twitter in particular both have a lot of hashtags. Like definitely, keep an eye out for those if one's interesting to you, like join in a conversation about it and include it in your post. And that'll be another way to reach a broader audience other than those that you're already directly connected with. And then I can't stress this enough, like, comment, and share the posts of others. Like social media is not a one-way megaphone to shout out about everything. It's a listening tool, and people have other things to say, and I bet you'll get more followers from commenting than you will from just announcing, and that's something that I've kind of found in my own life. Which brings me to a little funny anecdote. So it's not a popularity contest. People are like, oh, I have this many followers, or oh, I don't want to post because I'm only going to have like 2 followers, and who will see it? People will bolster you up when you post things that are of value and that are unique. And if you're listening and commenting on others, that is usually the fastest way for someone to follow you. If you see a conversation of someone you really like and admire, make a comment, and don't be surprised if you get a direct follow when they see and like your comment. It happens a lot, and that's really how you build a conversation. And ask questions. So as part of that, building a bigger conversation, it's, social media is a great place to learn new things, or even just to find out how to learn new things. You can also troubleshoot issues like, blue screens or errors in your endpoint management console. There's a lot of conversations, and then maybe you figure something out and you work with the person that helped you figure it out, and maybe you do a podcast, and then that's something you later share on social media. Or if, say, you're building a product or a technology or even a business, that's a great place to get feedback from other people who have done the same or in the same field on what they might be looking for, what they might like to see. And there's even, like, for example, for Twitter, there's polls built in. You can use a poll and get instant feedback. And I have found that, when I first kind of started rebuilding my own profile because I got hacked by Russians a couple of years ago, had to close down my old one. But as I started, I'm like, okay, no one's seeing my stuff. But at polls, man, because people can do it in 2 seconds. And then all of a sudden, you're like, okay, that's how many people really saw and interacted with that post. And you can kind of build from there and start to figure out what topics people are interested in. And again, it doesn't have to be a big time investment. Invest the time that you feel is good for you. If you feel yourself getting sucked into the rabbit hole, like, take a step back, take a day off. There's a lot of heated conversations around election cycles. There's, been a, long and heated discussions around COVID protocols and reactions. And I mean, it can get, social media can be a very heavy place sometimes. So really curate your community to be what you need it to be personally and professionally. I'm doing a lot of talking. Does anyone have any questions?
So we had a little bit of discussion about accessibility. So Jen was asking about, would you recommend posting into, how can you find things that will turn pictures or posts into more accessible content?
So if you're not a graphic designer, creating images within PowerPoint can actually instantly make all of your things accessible, because PowerPoint has a built-in accessibility checker. So you can create an image like out of a 16:9 slide and create however you want it to look, and then run that, and you can find out if that's accessible. There are also a lot of online free tools that you can download that will check pings and JPEGs, but if you don't have the ability to edit those, then you might have to go back to whoever created them for you. And if you're hiring someone to do graphics for you, that's just a great thing to ask and have them keep in mind. Accessibility guidelines aren't that hard for images. It's usually about text size and contrast. And then, of course, when you're posting it, it's about alt text.
And I put a link in the chat. Microsoft Learn has a whole module on accessibility. It's about a 2-hour learning path.
Nice. So continuing that kind of like make it healthy for you, set some boundaries for yourself. I'm going to use the brings you joy moniker, but yeah, engage as often as it feels good to you. It can be, it's easy to get in a cycle of, oh, did someone like my post? Did someone watch my post? And you kind of spin your wheels a little bit. So, I would recommend trying to stay away from that because that can be addictive, but just, think about it as, oh, who am I talking to today? What's Rachel doing? What's Harjeet doing? Oh, maybe they want to know about this thing I'm working on. And kind of, as you build it, kind of think of the people in your community as your friends, the people following you. And then there are trolls. Trolls abound, especially if you decide to share more philosophical, social, and political views. You can certainly confront them, but you really need to be prepared for the mental drain that can result in. So, as a rule, especially with more professionally focused profiles, I just say, just ignore it, report it, block it. And, as a woman on social media or any, and marginalized peoples as well, LGBT, I can't not speak, LGBTQ, there's a lot of harassment, and it's also like, it can feel good to champion other people too. And you can simply dismiss people. I find the best way to deal with trolls is to make them feel like they didn't get the rise and anger they wanted. So, just, if someone's harassing someone that you follow and admire and respect, you can report them for them on their behalf. Like maybe they don't have the energy to do that today. Or you can say, I found what they, defend the person. I found what they said really interesting. If you don't, I think you should just leave. Just kind of de-escalate and don't feed them anything because what they want is the rise. And then measuring success. So I mentioned, and I'll keep mentioning it, it's not a popularity contest. It's really not about who has the most followers. It's about creating a community for yourself, especially, during COVID. Like, we're all more isolated. We're all kind of longing for new ways to connect with people and feel like we're part of the world as human beings. So if someone's, for your business, sure, like, yeah, followers, impressions, visitors, like that tells you how well your business is out there and how well you're succeeding for that. But for your personal handle, like I really think about it in terms of like the quality of your interactions. Like, for the time you're investing, are you learning enough? Are you getting some warm fuzzies? Are you finding like new opportunities? Are you finding new connections with people? And then those things can turn into, at the next industry event, you'll run into someone and you'll be like, oh, hey, you're at the Real Creatrix. Cool. I didn't know that was you. And it can really foster some relationships that will continue to benefit you throughout your professional life and probably even your personal life.
And then Lorianne had a question. How do you navigate the intersection of what you are retweeting in the case of Twitter and what you are doing to earn your living? How do they impact each other? Or do you keep your personal social media separate from your work? That is to say, do you worry about that?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the person. Some people love to fully share. I mean, like I think you mentioned Jess Dodson earlier. Like she's a full sharer, right? She shares personal, professional, all of it. And she enjoys that. And she mostly shares professional. And so the people she's that follow her, I'm sure she occasionally gets, a bad comment, because we all do. But it's really, you'll never get harassed really if you're just posting professional stuff, unless it's by someone who's really just like, oh, you like to see you, whatever, outside of this. Like, just ignore those people. And then, maybe don't share pictures of your children. Let them make those decisions on how public or private they want to be. And then it's all about your comfort. Like, do I want to be a full person on this outlet? And am I prepared for just owning everything that means? So just when you're posting, try not to. That's something I say, like, just put yourself through a 5-second filter of, do I want this out there forever? Do I want this out there forever? Because it is. But I do encourage you, if you can be comfortable and start being comfortable, to share more of yourself, because that, I notice the people that I tend to follow and the people with a lot of followers, they're not out there because they're only sharing their next event or the paper they wrote or the bot they built. They are out there because they are sharing a broader section of themselves, and that's intriguing. It pulls people in. So if you can and you have the courage, I say do it. And I wanted to end on this slide too, because I wanted to take this, this is a networking group after all. So I would love it if we could all be friends, like find me, share your handles, profile links, let's follow each other. Let's keep tabs on each other. Let's, prop each other up. And I'm always personally available if you want to, have a conversation with me afterwards. Yes, I'll even put my email in there. Like, please reach out. I'd love to talk with you. I mean, we can talk strategy and just rant and rave about the world. Like, I'm always open. So that's what I like about social media in general, is you can find sections of instant community where maybe you felt something and you had the courage to voice it, or you had the courage to just search for it, and all of a sudden you found this, hundreds of thousands of people share that same feeling you have. It gives you that sense of like, I really belong here and I have a place. And no matter how outlying you have a thought or an opinion in your head, I guarantee someone agrees with you out there. So let's all be friends.
And one of my favorite things that happened to me with social media is I was listening to The Moth on the radio, and there was this woman who told the story about this time that she really messed something up in the IT pro world. She took down this whole fiber optics network. And she had an unusual name, so I was able to find her on social media, and I reached out to her, and then she ended up being one of our speakers on Women's IT Pros calls about my favorite mistake and recovery. And she's since become a great friend. She was an ambassador at Ignite the last time we had it in person. She's part of the little tribe that Rachel and I have, and just an amazing person. And I couldn't have done that without social media.
I think it even gave me, as I've started kind of engaging more on a personal level versus just for my clients, it gave me the courage to do this, right? I would have never done this before. And I don't by any means think I'm an expert, but I do think it's fun to share our stories and talk about it.
All right, so we got lots of chat coming in. So one of the things that people had mentioned in the chat was about Twitter analytics. So you can go and I know it's not about keeping score, but you can see kind of what your numbers are looking like there. Is that something you use, Heather?
It is. I like Twitter analytics. The out of the box ones I find to be fine, because what you can really see is you see your most popular posts in the last 30 days. And so if you are trying to build a professional audience or just a wider community in general, you can kind of see which topics you're talking about are landing. It'll show you what post was your most popular in the last 30, and you can slide that scale back and forth. One of the things that I really like about their analytics is you can see how many new followers you get per post. So you can really see if you had something that was like, oh, people really responded to that conversation. I want to have more of those with that particular stat.
Cool. Let's see, we also talked about scheduling posts in the chat window. Is that something that you do very often?
It is for clients and not so much for myself. For myself, I prefer to use the inbox because I want it to be kind of organic in my thoughts at the moment. Even for this, I want to say this morning, I want to post it's happening today. I want personally, I want to feel the enthusiasm of posting kind of like that live announcement. For clients though, I mean, everything. There's a lot of debate over, especially for personal handles, whether you want to repeat tweets in particular for different time zones. Because if you say you tweet something at 10 a.m. Pacific time, you're going to miss large swaths of the world. And given how many conversations will continue to happen throughout the day, they may not see that. And so but those who do follow you closely may be like, why are they posting it twice? So my suggestion for that is, that's a good reason to use a scheduler, to schedule that one that might be happening in the middle of the night when you're asleep, and just make it unique. Don't be a bot, don't be a business, be yourself and post. I posted this, or you can even say that, like I posted this earlier for, my US friends, but for everyone else, I was curious what your thoughts about X, Y, and Z were. Would love to hear from you. Comment below, that kind of thing. So. But a lot of like also the tools, like for example, I think you can share on Twitter, right? From Instagram, from Facebook, from various platforms. And depending on how you have it set up and what device you're working in, it might be ugly, right? It might just be like your name and a link. So, just be aware of what those experiences are going to look like on the other side. People like to know that you're taking the time, and sometimes scheduling tools can take that away.
Can I share some tips?
Yes, please.
Okay. So my first tip for you guys is to use an RSS feed, something like feedly.com. And that is where you can keep track on, for example, the various Microsoft blogs, whether you like photography and things like that. And you can create all sorts of folders and stuff like that. So you'll see all of those things coming through. And then you can also tweet and share things out from there itself. My other tip is to you can use like things like if this then that, right? The automation tools to for example, let's say if you created a recipe where if you tweeted it, then it will take that and then post it in Facebook, for example, or LinkedIn and things like that to help you spread that same information in various places. And then finally, you have things like buffer.com or hootsuite.com. They have the free versions, which limits you to maybe 1 or 2 accounts, kind of a thing. So you can do, you can schedule things in there. You can, again, it'll post it out to various locations and all that things, those kind of stuff.
And can you put those links in the chat window for us, Harjeet? And then
Sure.
I'll also throw them in the recording.
Okay.
Thank you. And I have tons of questions, but I'm going to open the floor first and see, who has questions. What questions do you have? You can
I
type
see one in the chat.
What was that, Lorianne? Oh, okay.
Yeah, the chat.
Yeah, well, actually, I'm going to talk about LinkedIn. That's just a general. So LinkedIn is it has a different algorithm. LinkedIn is a little bit, it's not as quick to trend because hashtags aren't used as prolifically as, say, on Twitter. And unlike Facebook, it's not based, Facebook prioritizes in its feed. The more people who know the people the more they see their stuff. A riddle wrapped in an enigma. But LinkedIn has kind of its own, it weights things on different importances. And one of those things for LinkedIn actually particularly is frequency of posting and frequency of posting over a long period of time. So get more active on LinkedIn and get kind of more noticed there. I would suggest posting at least twice a week. But it doesn't have to be net new posts. You can definitely just if you find an article that's interesting somewhere, bring it in, post a link to it, share it with people, say what you find interesting being the most important part, put your spin on it. And that will help you start elevating your LinkedIn profile more, especially if there's certain issues that you care about more.
Cool. And we've had a couple people talk about LinkedIn, and we'll definitely get more since it's always a popular topic.
Yeah. And LinkedIn also has that kind of endorsement faculty also, right? Mm-hmm. So you can, I always say, again, we tend to be shy about our skills, most of us. It's okay to ask for endorsements. It doesn't take that long. And if you're really trying to maybe look for new job opportunities or just increase your presence there, ask people to endorse you for the skills that you feel you're strongest at. And I mean, they're not going to say no. I've never, I haven't asked that often, but who's going to say no? No, I don't endorse you for that.
Also, another tip is to use URL shortness as much as you can. I know if you guys with Microsoft, they have the aka.ms, but Bitly is one I use and I just posted the link as well.
Yeah,
And
and
then
I
other
use Bitly
ones
as well.
you can- Go ahead, sorry.
What I would love is one where I can change the target of the link, and Bitly doesn't let you do that. So if anybody knows of a good one where you can change the target later, because I'd like to be able to use the same link for the meeting and then have it point to the recording when the recording's available, but I can't do that right now.
There are lots, but that's usually the paid version. The free
Yeah.
versions are always kind of a one and done. But sometimes, the paid versions, they have ones that aren't that expensive, and then you get the also ability to have your own kind of short domain.
Cool. Other questions? I have one about banners.
Okay.
So it seems what I've heard is that having a picture in the post, especially if you're trying to advertise something, helps draw people in. So is that true? I mean, is a picture better for things like this?
Definitely. I mean, posts without picture, if you just think about a newspaper versus a magazine, just visually how the human brain is, your eye will be drawn to the picture first. So to that note, including an image is always great. Again, make it accessible. It will make you stand out more. Animated GIFs are great, and there's tons of free, screen to GIF or just things that you can do if you're going to do a demo, like do a 5-second teaser of it, and put that in your post instead. They're really easy to use, and that really, it's not only a picture, but it's something moving in someone's screen, right? So their eye will be drawn to that. And then don't try and in your picture, right? Because if someone's looking at it on their phone, it's going to be about this big. So you don't need to put like every URL, put the information that matters most that you want them to remember.
All right, Joe just said even PowerPoint has a save as GIF option. I have never noticed that. Wow. Okay, that's my favorite tip for the day now.
Yeah, I used it the other day for my Windows gets better with every release. 3 slides. It's a 11-second GIF. Yeah.
I actually use PowerPoint to create a lot of images with the design ideas feature. So you just type a bunch of words or you put in a picture of something that you want, and then it just creates a bunch of designs for you that you can choose and then save that and post.
Yeah, I've been using PowerPoint to make the Women IT Pros banners. Although this month I asked Heather to do them since she is our social media. But I always wonder, like, how much information do you put in the banner picture that you're making, and how much do you put in the text itself? Does it matter? Do you repeat all the info?
Well, using this one as an example, we did put the URL in it. We probably didn't need to because that URL wasn't quite easy enough to remember by reading it. Like if I looked at it, I couldn't just go type in, WomenITPros.com, right? It wasn't. So you put a URL in it if it really is that easy to remember. But if you're using a link shortener, just put that in the body of the post itself. So the image should just say date, time, title.
Date, time, title. Okay. And Annalie, thank you. I will check out Linktree for a link that you can add pointers later.
Lice cap's also good. Yep, Erin, thanks.
Lice cap. Okay. Cool.
And I know some of the people, like obviously we've got a lot of social media experienced people on here as well. I would love to have someone share like what took you to the next level. Was it engaging with one person who opened up a whole new community? Did you go to an event and all of a sudden connect with a big group of people? Like where did you get kind of those jumps and starts that expanded your social media?
Well, mine I had built in since I managed the MVPs. When I finally got my act together and said, okay, I'm getting on Twitter, my MVPs all just lifted me right up. So, they're awesome for that. And they are really good people to follow. In fact, I have a public list for both the MEM MVPs and the Windows MVPs. And then there are just a lot of other MVPs out there, but I make it easier for you to find mine.
That's actually a good point. The people are like, who do I follow? Who do I follow? I wanted to make that point. And I totally forgot. Do not put yourself over. Like try and follow a diverse group. Try and follow interests that are maybe even on the fringe of things you're interested in to try and broaden your horizons. And if you're following people for political or social means, like you don't have to follow someone that that has opinions that you detest, but maybe still check in on Twitter with other accounts that are doing that, just to kind of having your own opinion reinforced to you consistently doesn't help you grow as a person, doesn't And also doesn't help you if you want to oppose an opinion, make a strong argument against it because you don't know the actual specific points they're making.
Here's what I do for here's what I do for followers is that one of the tips I give for new people is that you attach with somebody that you know, for example, yourself, Heather, right? And then going into and see who you're following, and then just start poking into, some of those accounts and see, oh, wait, this person has the same interest that I do, and how many followers they have, and how many followers, how many people they are following, and what kind of posts are they posting? Because some people will have a lot of followers and stuff like that, but they actually don't post anything relevant. So it's no point, right? So that's how you do it, and that's how you just keep expanding and expanding and expanding. And you talked about earlier, like how do you get people to know who you are and start following your brand, so-called, is the way what do you post for content. I technology and especially Microsoft technologies and stuff like that, right? And so that's my thing. So as I'm posting these things, and when I go to conferences, people just realize, oh, that's who you are. And I also share things, for example, like during events, whether they are online events or in-person events, I tend to use hashtags. Here's another tip for you guys, is that I tend to use hashtags a lot. And the reason I use hashtags is that they become like bookmarks. So for example, if I went to a Microsoft conference like Microsoft Ignite and I attended a session, each session has a session ID, right? A session number. For example, MEM 1234. So within that, I take my notes through Twitter. I don't take notes in OneNote and all that stuff. I take it live on Twitter. So I hashtag it with that particular session that I'm in, and I have other people who are also, tagging with the same hashtag. And then you, at your leisure time, you can do a search through TweetDeck or any other means for that particular hashtag, and you'll find everything about it. It's all there. So that's one way of leveraging social media.
Yeah, and to Joe's point, like TweetDeck is free. It's built in, on top of Twitter. So you can have TweetDeck and set up watch lists basically for certain hashtags, and that way you start to see more and more people that are talking about the things you want to talk about. It's also another way, if you really admire someone, say on Twitter, I keep focusing on Twitter just because it's an easy first place to be. You can tweet at them, say like, hey, Caruana, for example, who should I follow to stay in the know about Microsoft Teams? And I'm sure she'll just reply back with a list of like 20 people you can follow. And then people will pile on, oh, you should also follow this person. And I've seen a lot of threads on Twitter and Facebook actually too about stuff like that. So that's a good way to kind of broaden your horizons on who you want to see.
And I really love the list feature. So I have a bunch of public lists that I keep that you can find on my Twitter profile because I want people to be able to find my product team, my MVPs, the other Women IT Pros, Birds of a Feather groups. But I also have a lot of private lists that I just keep. So when I find people who are interesting, I throw those into private lists. Like I have one for women at Microsoft and women in, and not just women, things for virtual reality, because I'm really interested in that one. And then I make my columns in TweetDeck, primarily my lists. So we got a couple more minutes. I have another question unless somebody else wants to jump in first. Huh? Okay. One of the things, Heather, that you mentioned is the naming of things to get improved search optimization. Mm-hmm. So you'd said, well, maybe if you call it this instead of that. And, I kind of been going by my formula, but you said like using the names. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so, the best way to figure out how to get visibility for what you want to talk about is to go look for what you want to talk about. So whether you're on LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter, start typing in the words that you think you would use and see if the results you get are what you would expect and where you'd like to find what you're about to post about. Something that I just discovered by accident promoting this event was I started using the hashtag Women Who Code and Women in Tech, and there are at least 3 bots that automatically pick up those tags and retweet something if you post with them. So that immediately gets your post out there at a broader amplification level than you would have on your own. And so as more and more people get tech savvy, more and more bots like that get created, and the bots are like women in STEM and science on Twitter, or like the bots are specifically tasked to do and look for this tag and retweet something with that. So and it's a good way to avoid getting associated with a hashtag that you don't want to be. Like maybe you didn't notice that you're capitalizing the first letter of every word, but if you don't, maybe it makes a word that you don't really want to be in your hashtag. That can happen. I've seen some unfortunate instances of that. And on that note, when you're using hashtags, most people don't, but do capitalize each letter, because that, again, accessibility helps with screen readers. So if you were doing Women IT Pros, like they're going to get Women ITP Pros is how a screen reader is going to read it, because we don't have hyphens and it's all part of together in one smush.
Can you say that again? I'm not catching that.
So hashtag Women IT Pros, a screen reader will read as hashtag Women ITP Pros, because it doesn't understand how that works.
So we shouldn't capitalize the P. We should just do the IT as capitals, but the P is lowercase.
Yeah, in that case, yes.
Okay.
So, and I didn't
Let's
learn
change
that.
it now.
I just tried it out, because I've been trying some different accessibility stuff. So.
Fantastic. Okay, got a few more minutes. Anyone else? Questions, tips?
And hashtags work on LinkedIn too. You can do them on Facebook, but searching by hashtag on Facebook is not as productive as it could be.
Good to
Mainly
know.
just because you'll get a wider audience outside the professional sphere, so you'll get a lot of, silly things.
Wow.
It's a quiet bunch.
Well, we've been really noisy in the chat window, which is great. But yeah, I'm just trying to think if there are any other areas to dive into, or
I'm not keeping up with chat. I would love to follow everyone though. Will I somehow get that list from the chat?
Yeah, I'll make the list available. Well, let's see, internally. You're getting applause now. Puppy applause. I'll make sure that all of the links get posted out. Just for anonymity, I don't necessarily want to post everybody's personal information out there, but if you reach out to me and you were in the call, then if you shared yours, then I'm happy to act as the broker to share that with other people, so that you can. But run back through. We're going to end the call, but the chat will still be here. If you're external, you won't be able to get back in unless somebody admits you from the lobby. So copy it down before you go. But if you're internal at Microsoft, you will be able to come back, as this is a corporate tenant.
Yeah, great.
Well, Heather, thank you so much. I am so glad we were finally able to do this. It's important. I think for me, the message that I just want to keep amplifying is everybody has a voice, everybody has skills, your experience is different, your perception is different, and the more we share that, then the stronger we are as a community. And it's a great way to meet people, a great way to reach out and have events like this. So
thanks, Kathy. Thank everybody.
And this recording will be posted on YouTube. I will throw the link, actually I'll throw a bunch of links in the chat window here, including how to find our IT Pro meetings. I think we're mostly starting to use Eventbrite now, which is another good, kind of social media aggregator. So recommend that. And check out all the recordings as we're getting them up there on YouTube. So thanks everyone. Join us in January 8th, when we'll be talking about Ladies Get Paid with Claire Wasserman. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.